Is Ripple and XRP already connected to the world's financial system through Interledger Protocol? This video is going to be all about that, the future of how money will move around the planet using Ripple's technology. We're also going to talk about scalability because through Interledger Protocol, you can infinitely scale. Let's go ahead and better understand Mojaloop, Interledger Protocol, and how Ripple is involved in all of this. So I wanted to discuss Mojaloop really quickly. Open source software for creating interoperable payment platforms that connect the digital finance providers and customers. As you can see, Mojaloop was designed in collaboration with Ripple. It's the first company mentioned. Obviously, that is the technology that we're talking about here. Moreover, the open source Interledger Protocol invented at Ripple is promoting interoperability and inclusion in global financial markets. In October 2017, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation announced expansion of its Level 1 project, a collaboration with Ripple and all of these other companies that are listed. Mojaloop leverages the Interledger Protocol to connect all participants in an economy, from consumers to merchants and banks and government agencies, enabling the world's poor to send and receive payments and store funds in mobile wallets. We understand that that is going to be the future that we're going into. Having all of these, wallets with all of these credit cards, I believe will become a thing of the past as everything will become digital. I'd imagine that, already you can pull up your credit card and pay for things with just a click of a button on your phone. That is going to be becoming the new norm, especially as we get digital financial assets. I also wanted to see what Perplexity brought up with some more information about Mojaloop and Interledger Protocol, and this is what I was able to find. Mojaloop and Ripple are closely connected through Ripple's Interledger Protocol, collaborative development efforts, and ongoing partnerships within Mojaloop Foundation. Below are the main connections here. So Mojaloop is an open source software platform aimed at financial inclusion for the unbanked. It uses Ripple's Interledger Protocol and its interoperability layer. Interledger Protocol allows different payment networks such as bank, mobile money wallets, and merchants to connect and transact seamlessly. Interledger Protocol was specifically chosen for Mojaloop to overcome the challenge of interoperability in digital payments, making it possible for participants to transact as freely as it is with cash, regardless of underlying payment system. And it talks about the development. We did already touch on this. This was back in 2017. So you got to remember, back in 2017, we didn't have, tens of thousands of utility tokens. There was only a select few. This is kind of when the ICO craze was kicking off. And of course, Ripple at that time was the best technology on the market, right? If you looked at Ethereum and its proof of work at the time, it was so expensive to use that Ripple just made sense. And so I want you to expand your thought process on this to not just look at Mojaloop and the connections here, but what other companies that are using Interledger Protocol and expanding over the last decade in Ripple's technology. I think you are going to start seeing more and more announcements as this comes to the forefront. The Gates Foundation, Ripple, and Coil, a company founded by Ripple's former CTO, have partnered to implement Interledger Protocol and explore ways Mojaloop can support pro-poor payment systems, particularly in developing economies. All right. By the way, I've got a free course that can help you become a crypto pro in under an hour. You can comment down below Crypto Sensei and I will give you a link to this free course. I did want to show you some other information here. This is basically Swift is saying ISO 20022 site shows approved request to enable Ripple's Interledger Protocol on the Swift network. So technically, we're already connected into the Swift system through the Interledger Protocol. And here's those connections here. Clearing, payments, clearing, and settlement. There it is. And it was approved at the 8th of October, 2024. So this was just recently, right? Just at the end of last year. Pulling up some of the documents that were posted on the site here. And then also, guys, if you want to pull up these documents yourself, here's the website if you want to do it yourself. If you're trying to expand how you've researched and you want to work on some of your skills, definitely can take that and do what Smoke's doing here. Pulling this up in a Word document. And of course, here's Mojaloop Foundation. He's just showing you all the, bona fides here, really connecting the dots, which is what we want, right? When we're researching, we want to be able to drill down on some of these effects and make sure everything is accurate. Interledger Protocol v4, and then of course it goes right to Interledger Protocol. So connecting all of it, right? All of it back. Love to see that. And then Interledger Protocol is just like HTTP. So this is an explanation of how all of this is supposed to work. This is Ripple's Interledger payment. Alice and Bob are sending money to and from. And kind of this is how everything works on the back end. It's a little blurry. I understand that it's a little difficult to see, but it's just interesting how all of this was thought out years ago. All right, here's a good clip. Former CTO Stephen Thomas, the Interledger protocols was designed to scale the XRP ledger to a global level. Check this out.
When we started working on Interledger, it was, I was thinking about how to scale XRP Ledger, and obviously, when you think about scaling any database, you're thinking about sharding, having more instances of it. And whenever you do that, one of the biggest challenges is like, okay, well, now you've got your data split up in these different silos, so how do you connect it back together? But then it doesn't stop there because, at the time we were also thinking about how do we integrate with banks and their ledgers, right? And how do we integrate with all these legacy systems? And so we really started to try to think about interoperability holistically, right? Not, how do we solve interoperability for this like specific neighborhood, but for the world at large, right? And then that led us down the path to Interledger. But obviously that is a longer project. That's a bigger dream, a longer vision, and it takes time to, actually get. When we started working on Interledger.
All right, and then I also have some information here. By providing interoperability, seamless circulation, and payment automation or straight-through processing, also known as STP, the XRP Ledger promises to be the cornerstone of the Internet of Value. How many times have we seen the Internet of Value in government documents? This is dro.gurac.uk. And then also here, this is Marcus Treacher. Marcus Treacher. I said that right, I hope. He was the former head of Ripple executive, and he's explaining how Interledger Protocol allows XRP to scale infinitely. So when we're talking about payment networks, one of the biggest payment networks in the world is Visa. Visa averages, several thousand TPS per second. But if it really does get turned on, like everybody's out Christmas shopping and spending, and the transaction TPS can go to like 50,000 TPS. So a lot of people say, oh, well, XRP can only go to 1,500 or 3,000 TPS per second, but Interledger Protocol, you can really start to scale this infinitely. Let me show you.
We've configured our technology in a way that really fixed the problem of cross-border payments liquidity very, very well. So for the cross-border payment challenge, we've created an open internet model. We call the idea Interledger. So Interledger, like the internet, supports our Ripple technology globally. And that model does not require a single universal common blockchain. It requires a very open blockchain interconnectivity. And that means that the volume is theoretically infinite. It never runs out of the elements do, but the internet still works because it's inherently decentralized. So Ripple is the same. So you have a decentralized model, which is infinitely scalable. Supporting that, we have our liquidity proposition, which uses XRP, and that's a classic blockchain. But XRP was designed from the outset for transacting. So unlike the likes of Bitcoin, which is like very slow and slows down as you continue to build on volume, the XRP model is very, very, very high speed and very high capacity. So the liquidity part is very adequately served by the XRP model. The wider network we're creating, where if you're really going to create something of value for 7 billion people in the world, or 9 billion by 2050.
All right. Federal Reserve document highlights Ripple's Interledger protocol. So going back here, this is 2016, right? Or 216-95, probably document 95, talks about distributed ledger technology and payments, clearing, and settlement. This is the Finance and Economics Discussion Series, Divisions of Research and Statistics and Monetary Affairs, Federal Reserve Board, Washington, D.C. So this is definitely an official document. In this document, it says, in addition, a particular industry development of note is the Interledger Protocol, which allows transactions to flow across different ledgers and creates connection points between the two or more digital ledgers. The effect of the protocol defines a set of procedures for proposing a payments path and cryptographically escrowing funds across a series of interoperable ledgers and subsequently executing the escrow transactions once the receipt of the payment validates or acknowledges receipt of payment. It also says interoperable and streamline the process for transferring digital assets by enabling entities in different countries with different payment systems to more easily transact with one another. Adoption of this is a similar protocol could spur further innovation and adoption of DLT-based systems and cross-border payments use case. Love to see juiciness in government docs, right? Talking about this is something of note, right? We should be paying attention to that. That is what they're saying here. And then also I wanted to look at what other connections that the US government may have with Interledger Protocol and Ripple. And so this pulled up here. There is substantial evidence of a direct technological connection between the US government, specifically the Federal Reserve and Ripple's Interledger Protocol. Love to hear that. FedNow, a Federal Reserve's instant payment service, relies on Ripple's Interledger Protocol technology as a core component of its digital transaction infrastructure. A core component of the digital transaction infrastructure. Multiple sources confirm the Interledger protocol is not just being tested, but is actively being used by FedNow to enable secure, transparent, and near instantaneous payments between banks and financial institutions. This represents a significant public-private partnership in the US payments landscape. Altcoin buzz, Binance Square. Interesting. Ripple's involvement in U.S. policy and regulation. Ripple has actively lobbied U.S. government agencies and Congress. The company hired, a Washington, D.C. based Klein and Johnson to lobby on behalf of the U.S. Congress, IRS, SEC, and regulatory bodies. The lobbying effort included both cash and XRP payments to the firm. Ripple has participated in the Federal Reserve consultations. In December 2018, Ripple was on the formal responses to the Federal Reserve's request for comment in the future interbank settlement real-time gross settlement system services, advocating for adoption of Interledger protocols, or for the adoption of protocols like Interledger Protocol. Strategic and political developments. Recent U.S. executive orders and policy discussions have included Ripple and XRP. In early 2025, President Trump signed an executive order directing the exploration of U.S. strategic cryptocurrency reserve, with XRP specifically named. We kind of know that, yes, the XRP, is going to be in this, but they don't have any additional money to put into this. They're really focused on Bitcoin right now. Hopefully that changes. I think things can change on a dime in Washington. I think this is something that people will start to get more educated on, and will start making, clear decisions on the future of America's payment systems. And then it does talk about, some conclusion down here that I'm just not going to read. If you want to pause it and read that, please do so. I did want to show you a few other things here. Hyperledger Foundation Quant confirmed that they need Interledger Protocol to interact with Ripple. At this point, all the focus is on Interledger. Interledger is targeted at everyone and anyone. ILP is the Internet of Value documented. So here in the Hyperledger documents, you do see another contributor is Ripple. What do you need to interact with them? At this point, all the focus is on Interledger. Ripple protocol is targeted at banks, while Interledger is targeted at everyone and anyone. Interledger protocol is designed to be open source because the vision is an internet of value. This person also posted some interesting stuff. A lot of this stuff we've already covered. Interledger protocol plus XRP ledger equals the backbone of the financial system. It talks about built by Pays Labs, supported by Interledger Foundation, a game changer in cross-border payment systems. Interledger protocol enabled accounts. This is an open payments platform powered by Interledger protocol. Fast, low cost cross-border remittances, interoperability across different networks. It talks about Pakistan as one of the top 10 remittance receipt countries globally, 9 billion in remittances last year. It does say, what is Interledger protocol? Right, we did talk about this already. Some huge connections with some even bigger companies like IBM. You also have Stellar involved here as well, Coil. And then it talks about a little bit more. Interledger protocol is at the center of a powerful ecosystem of the ISO 20022 networks and banks and enterprise players. It's not a theory, it's happening. It talks about why this matters: financial inclusion at scale, in minimal intermediaries equals lower costs, real-time money movement across systems, foundation for Web3 native finance infrastructure. Bottom line, it talks about the, Rafiki, Remit, and how they're using XRP or Interledger protocol or HTTP for money. And then I'm sure you've seen these documents here, right? Having all of our trading partners, our biggest, partners in general in the globe here in the US. We got Japan, we got the EU, we got the UK, and then of course, China. The relationship with China is always, saber rattling, and, I don't know what these guys are doing, but you see like Interledger protocol, right? And the XRP ledgers here, and then ILP connecting all of this stuff together. Really cool stuff. If you learned anything, please like the video. Guys, I've been in crypto for 5 years. I've learned what to do and I've learned what not to do. And I've put a lot of these key details in a course that's absolutely free for you. If you're interested, you can comment down below, Crypto Sensei, and I will give you a link to this free course. And if you want to take your crypto journey to the next level, you can think about signing up for my community, Cryptonaires. We got new aggressive pricing, and we got a lot of really amazing value that we are offering our members. Link down in the description. I'll see you guys. Hello. Nothing in this video should be taken as financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor. Please seek financial advice if you need it.